Are you still trying to cram your entire career into one page because someone told you that's just how resumes work? Imagine if you could actually position yourself for the role you want, not just the one you think you're qualified for. In today's episode, I sit down with Amy Adler, award winning resume writer and executive career strategist, to uncover why your resume isn't just a list of tasks, how LinkedIn can position you before you even apply, and the powerful mindset shift to own your story with confidence. If you're ready to finally stand out on paper and online, don't miss this conversation. Hit play and let's dive in. Hey mama, welcome to Career Growth for Working Moms. If you're stuck in a job that doesn't fit or burning out trying to do it all, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, a career coach and fellow working mom. Here, you'll get simple career strategies and strength-based leadership tips to help you grow with clarity and confidence. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's do this. Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have Amy Adler with me today. Amy is president of Five Strings Career Transition Experts, where she specializes in resume writing and career positioning for executives and their teams. Amy has been an award-winning resume writer for over 15 years, holds multiple industry certifications, and is the author of Courageous Career Change: Fearlessly Earn the Executive Role You Deserve. She's also the host of the Job Search podcast and Amy Adler's How I Hire podcast. Amy is here today to help us understand how to stand out on paper and online, position ourselves confidently for that next opportunity, and avoid common mistakes that happen that keep talented professionals stuck. Amy, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
It is such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So, your journey into resume writing started after a career in publishing and earning your MBA. What drew you into helping people tell their career stories so powerfully?
I appreciate the question, and not the first time I've been asked, because most people don't when they're asked when they're a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? Resume writer usually is not on the list.
Right.
So, but to be fair, so I'd spent the first part of my career, as you say, in editorial management, mostly for books, academic publishing. And that was truly my heart. It was when someone asked me what I wanted to do when I was a little kid, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a book editor. I never actually envisioned myself as a writer. Um, but as it happened, after my MBA and after having kids, uh, I needed to find something that was going to work for my life. And this is the truth. Like I said, I've told this story multiple times. So I had small kids, and I needed to do something constructive for myself because I needed that for me. And of course, I wanted to get back into the workforce and start earning some money.
Right.
So I had small kids the youngest of whom had just entered kindergarten, and I was casting about for what I could do in the now 3 hours a day that I had to myself. And I'm sure listeners that will resonate on some level. Um,
Totally can relate. Yes.
and I thought this an enormous expanse of time every day that I could do whatever I wanted. So I was looking around for what I could do in that amount of time. And so of course the business aspect of my educational background and the um, career building stuff that I had done before I had children, that there was this great intersection that I didn't even know was going to be an intersection until I worked with a friend of mine who, and this was before I was doing this professionally. She was a great salesperson. She's like, "You're a writer, you know how to do these things. Could you just help me? Because I need this job. I need to get this interview." And great, I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first time, and I was just relying on sort of personal experience. Anyway, we got together. I wrote her resume. She got the interview. She got the job offer. It was amazing.
That's
And I thought, oh,
awesome.
well, there's a thing here. So I then sort of entered into the business, and I was working for other people for a while. And the hardest decision professionally that I had to make regarding resume writing at that stage was to tell the person I'd been working for close to 2 years that I was ready to strike out on my own. And it was really, really hard and amazing and scary. And I'm so glad I did it because that set me on the path to where I am right now, speaking to you.
Yes. Well, I love that because I feel like a lot of the listeners right now are they're in a career pivot. They're trying to get that raise, that promotion. And so what are some big resume mistakes that they may make that could hold them back in getting what they really want?
Think the biggest mistake anybody can make, especially somebody who might be spending a little bit of their day or more than a little bit of their day working with their own children and sort of setting aside their own personal aspirations, is to forget that they have these skills and they have these assets and all the things that they bring to the table every single day, whether they're currently working or they were working or they're thinking about maybe their first job for whatever reason. Taking care of kids is no joke. And balancing that with a professional career makes it doubly hard. And managing a family and a house and a or a household, let's say, remembering to get whatever it was from the grocery store. But all of these things have um, professional spins on them that can help somebody push their what they think is just daily stuff into something that is really magical on paper.
Right. I love that. I love that. So what happens if there's a job? I know that I've heard like men will go after a job if they're like 40% qualified, and women usually, unless they feel 100% qualified, don't typically go after it. But what happens? Is there something that they could do in their resume, even if they don't feel that 100% qualified for it, but they still want to go after and take a chance on a job?
For sure. Yeah, I've heard the same kind of theme or same kinds of statistics. I don't know if it's 100% true, uh, but I think there's a couple of things that anybody, especially people who maybe are coming out of a different kind of career situation or have had a career break, something that they can do that will help them look like the person that the company is going to be hiring for. And thing number one is pay very close attention to what the job posting is asking. To me, that's the end game. Like, what are they looking for? I would like to believe that all of their must-haves and would like to haves are listed in that document.
Right.
So knowing where you're pointing your resume, I think is the first step. So looking at all of the qualifications and deciding, is there enough substance to what they're asking for versus what I know that I can do? Can I make that connection? Can I do that and have a credible presence and make the hiring entity understand why I am speaking to them, why I'm trying to get in front of them, and start that conversation with that document way before the interview even starts. So that's one thing somebody can do. Another thing that is super valuable is figuring out who knows somebody who might know somebody who works there, or barring that, making a cold call, especially when you're sort of exploring what that next thing might look like. And this is one of a couple of options. This is a way to expand who you're speaking to, expand your network, and to cross-pollinate what you're doing online and in real life. So connecting with five or six or seven people at a company because you think it's a really great place and you want to work there and you've seen the job posting, connecting with them on LinkedIn helps the recruiter who is now seeing your connections to understand that you're already invested and that you're following the company page, and maybe you've signed up for the newsletter or you're doing all these things that add up to each of these touch points adds up to a bigger commitment, let's say, on your part that the recruiter needs to see. So it can happen, to answer your question, on paper, online, and in person.
Well, you just mentioned LinkedIn. Like, what kind of role does that play in trying for resumes? I mean, I know that I feel like that might be a underused tool for these women that these career moms that are listening right now.
I think it's a hard transition, sort of to make or shift, mental shift to make. I have my resume. Why would I need anything else?
Right.
So the very simplest answer to your question is make sure your LinkedIn profile is not empty. And using the AI tools that LinkedIn provides are not as good as what a human can do. Even somebody who's not a professional resume writer, but somebody who just owns their career. They know more about what they are bringing to the table than the AI will ever know. So making sure there's something substantive in that LinkedIn profile is it could be as easy, I mean, maybe not 100% advised, but as easy as copying and pasting your resume with some modifications. Don't obviously put out personal, private company information, that kind of thing on LinkedIn because there's like a billion users now.
Right.
But some version of your resume is at least a good place to start. At least it's not nothing. And as
Right.
you start to, as a job seeker starts to feel more comfortable, they can go in and shape that story to the thing they want next. So whatever it was before versus whatever is next, if it's the same thing, that's a straight line, that's really easy. If it's something that's a bit of a shift, that's going to take some nuance, but it's definitely possible to do. And it helps somebody who's searching for you to find some, or searching for someone like you to find you.
Right. I love that. I love that. So, what about these women that may just feel like when they have to do their resume that they're listing out tasks, but they don't feel like they've really had much impact? Is there a mindset shift that they need to take to really showcase these achievements and position them maybe for the next role that they want, the next level up or promotion that they're trying to get? I
I
guess.
love that you call it a mind shift. I really do. Because it's so, I mean, I could talk about challenge, action, result statements, bullets, and that kind of thing, and I'm happy to do that. But I think something that comes before that is the change that happens in yourself. And to understand that the way you do or a job seeker does what they do, because that's what their job is supposed to be, is not something that everyone else would do. That each person who has a career or a role, even if it's not a paid role, by the way, it can be volunteer, it could be in your house, it could be anything. The way they do it is unique and special to them, and nobody else would do the job the way they do. So, starting from that point of confidence and getting away from the fear of this is just what anybody here would expect is
Mhm.
the number one thing people can do. And from there, everything else cascades forward. So if I'm really good at this thing and I can solve big problems, this is how I would talk about them to somebody else. This is what I need to show somebody else to prove to them that not only do I know what I'm doing, but I can do this really, really well.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. So, what about the moms that are listening that are just like getting back into a new career or wanting to, like, they took a break because they became a mom and now they're actually coming back into the workforce? How do they position their resume in that to allow for that career break, I guess is what you would call, or career sabbatical in some way?
So how, I mean, how do they present that on paper? That's an
Yes.
incredibly loaded question because there's a million ways to do this well. Um, So everything from literally owning it. So I haven't been working in 5 years and this is just my life. And you know what? I've been raising two incredibly needy humans and this is what this is what's happened. But to take that a step further and to say, well, I've been raising two incredibly needy humans and, or some number, whatever the number is. I have two, well, they're not so needy anymore, but they were. But to explore all the things that one does as a child care provider of one's own children. Somebody who volunteers in a school, somebody who volunteers in the religious institution, somebody who goes to the food bank and fills boxes, whatever the thing is that they might do, those can become elements of that can fill the gap between whatever you were doing before when you were working full time or part time or whatever it was you were doing to now. Now that you're showcasing what you're going to be doing for the future employer to digest. Also, other things can fill that space. So let's say you're on one of those apps that teaches you a foreign language, and you've been doing that X number of minutes per day for Y days a week, and this is just your new passion. You want to learn to speak whatever the language is, put it in there. It's interesting. It's, if nothing else, it's a good conversation starter. If
Right.
you have decided you wanted to learn everything there is to know about, I don't know, the Hubble Space Telescope, maybe that's your new passion too. Okay, talk about your newfound passion for astronomy and all the things that you have done and all the things you have read, and maybe a course that you've done online or two or three, or something on LinkedIn Learning if you have the access to that, or Udemy, or one of those types of platforms. Uh, Show that you are interesting and engaged and do more than somebody who doesn't do that might be able
Right.
to showcase.
I love that because I think about like when I had my kids, I then started volunteering for MOPS and then, I was the coordinator and then I also was a mentor in Bible study. Like I did things, but it wouldn't be considered a job, but it still was crafting and showing leadership. And so I love that you invite people to put that into the perspective of, hey, you still did do something. Like put that down on the paper because you are still gaining skills or even learning a foreign language, like you said. So,
And if I could amplify what you just said, you were doing all these really cool things. I knew about MOPS too. That was really fun. Yeah. But no resume that I've ever seen has salary on it. So whether you earned money or didn't earn money doing it doesn't even show up on your resume.
right.
And you
Yes.
don't have to talk about whether it was a volunteer role if you're showcasing it as something that you are doing on a very regular basis over time. Eventually, you might want to have a section on volunteerism, but you could treat those volunteer roles as what you've been doing of late, and it plays very nicely.
Right. I love that. So, what is the biggest myth about resumes or LinkedIn that goes with the resumes, I guess, that you wish people would stop believing?
That you only need one page.
Oh,
Plenty of resumes can be one page. I once wrote a resume for somebody who'd had the same job. I think it was a sales type role for 25 years.
oh,
He
wow.
got one page and it worked out great. I've written resumes that have been for senior executives that have been up to 3 pages. And
Really?
because they have long careers and they do lots of stuff. I think the sweet spot tends to be 2 pages, but anywhere in the middle is going to be okay. And don't feel like you have to squeeze everything that you've done if you have really good stuff to say into a single page and get into like 9.5 typeface, whatever. Like make it readable,
Right.
and use white space judiciously. And if it's okay, if you feel like you've had enough stuff to fill more than one page, it's okay to go on to two.
I love that. I love that because I feel like back in the day, it used to be you could only one page, that was it. Like that is one of my beliefs that I've thought for a long time is it's just one page. So that's a great myth to debunk. So thank you for that. So where can our listeners connect with you? What's the best place?
So everybody can find me on LinkedIn. My handle is Amy L. Adler, AmyLadler, and my website is fivestrengths.com. That's FiveStrengths.com.
Thank you. Okay, so before we wrap up, I love to leave my listeners with a little powerful takeaway or action that they can implement today. So, what is an impactful change that one of these working moms can make on her resume or her LinkedIn profile today to be more confident in her next step?
So I think the biggest change somebody can make, certainly on their resume, which will transform or translate into their LinkedIn profile, is to remember again how well, so not just what you do, but how well you do it. And to be able to describe the extent to which you did something amazing is going to change the nature of those bullets on your resume so that your audience can say, she did something really important here. And here, I understand the business case behind what happened. And you know what? I think she can do it for us too.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I appreciate it.
The honor again is completely mine.
Hey, Working Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share it with a friend who's stuck in her career but doesn't want to sacrifice her family to grow? Also, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It seriously lights me up to know this show is helping you navigate burnout, find clarity, and lead with confidence. All right, time to shut down my laptop and pretend I'm not hiding from folding that laundry. I'll meet you back here soon for another episode of Career Growth for Working Moms. You've got this.